Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, at the beginning of today's conference and presentation of the new EU project raising awareness about gender-based cyber violence and advocating for safer online environment for women and girls, it is my great pleasure and honor to welcome you all here in Zagreb, as well as our online participants from Croatia, Spain, and Portugal. The project is conducted by Croatian Ombudsperson for Gender Equality with its partners. I'm sure that we all are aware how big this problem is of cyberbullying against women and girls in our world today. Globally, 23% of women have experienced abuse or harassment online. Can you imagine that? 23%. This is the reason why we must deal with this problem. I hope that this project will help us because its aim is to raise awareness on institutional level as well as social level about gender-based cyber violence and to make improvements on legislative and legal level for regulation of cyber violence in Croatia, Spain, and Portugal, as well as on the European level. After welcome speeches, there are two panels in front of us. We will hear more about experiences on the gender-based cyber violence from our partners organization from Portugal and Spain, as well as partner organizations from Croatia. But at the beginning, welcome speech from our host. It is my real honor to introduce the Ombudsperson for Gender Equality of the Republic of Croatia, Ms. Višnja Ljubičić. Please.
Representative participants, dear State Secretary of Croatian Ministry of Interior, Madame Petrijevčanin, dear Director of the Directorate for Education from Croatian Ministry of Science and Education, Madame Šerepac, Ms. Katica Glamuzina, Member of Croatian Parliament, honorable project partners from Portugal, Spain, and Croatia, and representatives of the state bodies and civil society. Dear all, it is my great pleasure to greet and welcome you at today's conference and presentation of our new EU project, raising awareness on gender-based cyber violence and advocating for safer online environment for women and girls, of which the institution of the Croatian Ombudsperson for Gender Equality is the holder and project leader. I'm particularly pleased we have the opportunity to welcome here today our project partners from Spain and Portugal. I hope you will enjoy your stay in Zagreb, and I firmly believe that by exchange at today's conference, we all in the project team will additionally strengthen our mutual today's conference. We all in the project team will additionally deliver the goals of our valuable project. What is more, support and the wind in our back will be provided also by our project supporters, Ministry of Interior and Ministry of Science and Education, for which we'll thank now them. Finally, I warmly welcome all conference participants who follow us online, especially youth, their teachers and experts who work with them, in particular with women and girls. Your presence is important to us because one of the goals of this conference is to provide insight into the various forms of cyber violence to which young people and women are particularly exposed. By doing this, we aim to further raise awareness to hopefully to contribute to more effective prevention of these forms of violence.
Excuse me, madam, please.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but actually my friend has a story that is very connected to this theme, and it would be great if there is, I saw that you have projector, if maybe we could connect him like for 3 minutes just to hear his story, because I really think he needs an advice, like 3 minutes.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for you. Can you connect him? Okay.
Let's try.
Okay.
We'll see what
So
happens now.
he has really a story. If you can just put him on the screen, if it is possible.
Nemoj me spajat, molim te. Ej,
His name is...
ne mogu, nemoj me spajat, molim te, ne mogu ništa slučati. Ja moram tu curu, ne mogu zaposliti. Daj mi rješenje, daj mi neko drugo rješenje.
Hello.
Dečko će objaviti te fotke.
Hello, you are at the conference. Hello, Vicko.
Nemoj me spajat.
Online si već, Vicko. Samo te...
Nemoj me, molim te, spajat.
Ne, ali spojen si već, samo trebaš...
Nemoj me gledat, nemoj me spajat, ne želim... Izađi s konferencije, molim te, izađi sekundu s konferencije da se čujemo, molim te.
Ne, ali stvarno ima, he has a really story that... Hey, Vicko.
Hello, Vicko. Hello, you are at the conference about gender-based cyber violence. Would you please be so kind to introduce yourself and tell us what's the problem?
Okay, hello everybody. I'm sorry that it happened that I interrupted your conference. I will not talk about the names because the issue is very sensitive. I am general manager of the huge cultural institution in Croatia, and we are just kickstarting a big European project which is very covered by media. We find the right person to run this project. She's the great candidate. She speaks a few languages, and today I had to appoint her, but she told me that her ex-boyfriend or something, I don't know, is threatening her that he will publish some explicit nude sexual content with her, photos, but also adult videos. Unfortunately, if this happened, all the media coverage will be focused on her private life, nothing on the project. So I have to find a new person.
You shouldn't do that because there is this new addition to criminal law, and that's why we are here. And if this person show this kind of content to another person, he can get up to 1 year of jail. Okay?
1 year?
And if he shows it publicly, like on social media or somewhere, he can get up to 3 years of jail. Okay?
3 years?
Yes.
That's quite a sentence. Yeah, but it was 10 years ago. It's kind of, how to say, zastara.
So this doesn't matter because I'm trying to tell to my friend, it doesn't matter if it was 10 years ago, if it was 5 years ago.
And they were not together. They were like something in between a few days.
It doesn't matter if they were married or their, one night stand. If she didn't give her consent to publicly show this content, right?
Okay.
So it's against
you
the
are
law.
telling me, if she send a lawyer to him, that then he will not publish this, probably because he will know he will go to jail for 3 years.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, but Sanya, this is only law on the paper. It will not be in execution.
No. Is it law on paper or is it for real?
No. I strongly believe that will not be only a word in a paper, just a word on a paper. I believe that this law will be functional.
Okay. I mean, sounds like a solution for our problem.
Okay.
Sorry, thank you very much. Sorry for interrupting you, and enjoy your day. Sanya, thank you. I'll get you for this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. We are so sorry to take your time, but we really need to go with this story. Thank you. And thank you for your advice, because I was trying to tell this to him.
You are welcome. This is the reason why the conference is organized. So I'm very surprised in first moment that I saw Vicko.
And
this is Vicko Bilanjic.
This thing can happen to all public persons, to actors,
to youngsters, to teenagers,
to everybody.
Yes. So it's very important to know that there's this new addition to criminal law because cyberbullying is real.
Yes. And this information, this law protects us all.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you to our actors. Thank you, Vicko and Sanya, for this remarkable performance. Now we have to continue with my speech. Thank you. From the available literature and statistical data, it's evident that cyber violence against women and girls became a significant problem with serious implications for societies and economics around the world. Therefore, the exchange of experience of these matters is timely and necessary. Please let me share with you a few important information of our project, with which implementation we started in January 2023. It is important to say that our 3-year project is co-funded by the European Commission with the Citizens, Equality, Rights and Value Program, and its total value is around 2.2 million euros. On this occasion, I would like to thank the European Commission for recognizing the importance of this topic and for giving us the opportunity to transfer our plans and ideas into practice and concrete activities with this project. The overall aim of the project is to raise awareness about the problem of gender-based cyber violence at institutional level and social level, and to create the precognitions for improving the legislative framework for regulating cyber violence in Croatia, Spain, and Portugal, but also at the European level. As I already said, during the performance, we have to start dealing with the consequences. That is exactly why we are aiming to reach young people, their teachers and experts who work with them, and to make positive changes in relation to more effective prevention of these forms of violence. We intend to achieve our goals through various project activities, research projects, comprehensive training of experts, awareness training and media campaign, and many more. One very important goal of the project is to create a strategic document with guidelines for creating a common approach to gender equality in this area, which will be presented to the legislative bodies both at the national, Croatia, Portugal, Spain, and European level. As it is evident, dear participants, we have a big challenges ahead of us, a lot of understanding and cooperation, not only between us, the project team, but also in relation to the environment will be addressing. That is why today's conference, as a sort of kick-off activity, is an excellent starting point and introduction to our future activities. Later today, we will hear the experience of our partner organizations from Portugal, Spain, and Croatia on gender-based cyber violence. In a constructive exchange of opinions, we will try to provide the necessary answers and proposals for future actions in this area. In this light, I wish you successful work and exchange of opinions today. I invite you to actively participate and in order to jointly address gender-based violence in the virtual world. Thank you to all, and especially Vicko, Sanja, and also our guests. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ljubicic. And from my side also, thanks to our great actors. Very nice. We are pleased, as we heard, that this project has the support of Croatian Ministry of Interior and Ministry of Science and Education. On behalf of the Ministry of Interior, I invite the State Secretary, Ms. Irena Petrijevčanin, to welcome us. Please.
Hello to everybody, distinguished guests and participants, representatives of civil association, respected Ombudswoman for Gender Equality of the Republic of Croatia. It's my honor and pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the Ministry of the Interior. These are hard times, and we all do better when we collaborate on practical long-term solutions. We are probably all familiar with the fact that, in general, cyber threats, including crimes in the e-environment, are constantly increasing, and so are the criminals' abilities. Furthermore, cybercrime is considered to be at a low risk of detection, and criminological studies and experts confirm this. Due to insufficient social skills, unfortunately, children are the most threatened social group. Actually, as far as I know, it is my personal experience as State Secretary at Ministry of the Interior. The internet is overrun with content of child sexual abuse. And that is a huge issue for us. And it has never been like this. Yet the explosion in detected content keep growing. And I mean worldwide and exponentially, unfortunately. And the most common victims are children aged 7 to 9. Considering that number of cases of various forms of victimization in the digital space is constantly rising, and that we can expect greater challenges in fighting this type of crime in the future, the Ministry of the Interior is committed to further strengthen its human and technical resources. 3 factors are important when it comes to the safety of our citizens and society in general, including in the digital environment. Those factors are prevention, of course, cooperation of all relevant stakeholders and others, I mean civil society, of course, and quality education of police officers. Measures to prevent and fight against sexual exploitation and, of course, gender-based cyberbullying as well on the internet are diverse. They are included in numerous programs, guidelines, and concepts. Prevention is one of our priorities because we fully acknowledge that significant positive change can be made by raising awareness and by appropriate preventive initiatives and measures aimed at different social groups. Furthermore, we know that preventive measures are more effective when experts, I mean police, judiciary, psychologists, omnibus person in Croatia and in European Union, social workers, NGOs, cooperate successfully. With that in mind, the Ministry of the Interior already implements several preventive projects in cooperation with other relevant stakeholders, which I mentioned before. And we are also looking forward for future opportunities for cooperation and collaboration. We are in the same boat, as already you know. When it comes to police education, we are dedicated to providing structured training programs at all levels of police education. I mean basic, university, and lifelong as well. To conclude, the Ministry of the Interior considers cooperation with Ombudswoman for Gender Equality, Madam Ljubicic, to be very important. So we aim to give support to projects and initiatives that aid in improving children and women's rights and safety, and of course, gender equality. This conference and this project as well is also an opportunity to share knowledge and expertise regarding these issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Prijevčanin, and thank you for your support. Ms. Vesna Šarapac, Director from Directorate for Education of the Ministry of Science and Education, is going to take the podium now and welcome us also. Ms. Šarapac, please. It is Šerepac. Yes. I'm sorry.
Yes. Dobar dan svima. Ja ću iskoristiti priliku i govorit ću na hrvatskom jeziku, a istovremeno možete pratiti na engleskom jeziku, jer kao što znate predstavljam instituciju Ministarstva znanosti i obrazovanja gdje je hrvatski jezik priznati kao jezik i nadam se da nećete zamjeriti što ću usmenom riječju reći ono što je itekako bitno za današnju konferenciju i zahvaliti se što možemo u ime Ministarstva znanosti i obrazovanja reći nekoliko riječi. Ja znam da je engleski službeni na današnjoj konferenciji praćenje, ali pozdravni govori mogu biti na jeziku zemlje u kojima se održava konferencija, pa sam ja to pravo iskoristila. Nadam se da nećete zamjeriti. Poštovane dame i gospodo, dragi kolege, osobita mi je čast i zadovoljstvo što vas mogu pozdraviti u ime ministra znanosti i obrazovanja, profesora doktora znanosti Radovana Fuchsa i u svoje osobno ime. Poštovana gospođo Ljubičić, poštovani zamjeniče, poštovani kolege, poštovani predstavnici svih institucija ovdje nazočnih u dvorani i svih onih koji nas prate. Vezano uz današnju temu, što reći nego da suvremeni život bez korištenja digitalne tehnologije je danas postao nezamisliv. Iako je digitalna tehnologija s jedne strane omogućila brojne životne pogodnosti, otvorila je s druge strane virtualni prostor u kojem se mogu zbivati i razne neželjene aktivnosti. Cyber nasilje je postalo novi oblik nasilja koje je prodrlo u gotovo sve dijelove suvremenog društva. Djevojčice, žene nisu pošteđene kibernetičkog nasilja. Njega uočavamo u partnerskim odnosima koji se odvijaju u online okruženju ili na platformama raznih društvenih mreža. Brojna provedena istraživanja pokazuju da internetski mediji omogućuje nasilna ponašanja, kako seksualno, tako i druga kaznena djela, služeći se pritom stereotipima o djevojčicama i ženama. Kako se radi o nekontaktnom virtualnom prostoru, namjere napadača često nisu odmah vidljive, pa naivne žrtve često budu uhvaćene u klopku koje se teško rješavaju. Bez obzira na medijsku prisutnost ove teme, mnogi pojedinci misle da se to događa nekome drugome i da se takvi napadi ne mogu dogoditi ni njima samima, a kamoli nekome u okruženju. Jedina učinkovita strategija za borbu protiv kibernetičkih napada i cyber nasilja je stalna i sveobuhvatna edukacija učenika, ali i svih ranjivih skupina. Upravo iz tog razloga tema o sigurnom korištenju internetskog okruženja uvedena je u kurikule nastave informatike, ali u međupredmetne teme uporaba informacijske i komunikacijske tehnologije za osnovne i srednje škole. Vjerujemo da ćemo govoreći o problemu kibernetičkih napada, cyber nasilja, osvijetiti pojedinca i da im kažemo koji su to rizični postupci kojima se izlažemo na internetu, te koje strategije trebamo rabiti kako bi se maksimalno zaštitili ili uspješno obranili od takvih nasrtaja. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Šarepac. It is time now for our first panel. The name is Experiences of Partner Organizations from Portugal and Spain on Gender-Based Cyber Violence. I would like now to call all our participants to take the seat here, a place with me. It will be much easier for you to address, so please don't hesitate and come here in front. Take your seat. Please do. Yeah, it would be much easier for you to address, and then I will introduce you. So, as we said, we have our partner organizations from two countries, from Portugal and Spain. It is my pleasure to welcome the representative of the institution of the Portuguese Commission for Citizenship and Gender Equality, Ms. Susana Mota and Ms. Ana Neves. Thank you for being with us. Please, the floor is yours. Just take the microphone, please. Oh, you can sit, or if you like. Ah, okay. Please have a presentation. You are hearing everything.
Can you?
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Susana Mota. I came from Portugal, and I came with my colleague Ana Neves. So we will divide this presentation, okay? Sorry for my English. I'm very good in Portuguese, but in English, more or less. Okay, thank you. We are Commission for Citizenship and Gender Equality. We are a national state organization responsible for promoting and defending the fundamental principle of equality between women and men, seeking to respond to the profound social and political changes in society regarding citizenship and gender equality. Our main intervention areas are equality between men and women, violence against women, more recently the human trafficking, LGBTE, and the female genital mutilation. In all of these areas, we have lots of projects. Domestic violence in Portugal, some principal ideas. Since the 90s, Portugal has made significant efforts to prevent violence against women through the implementation of several measures, many of them established by the National Plan Against Domestic and Gender-Based Violence. In August 2014, the Council of Europe Convention on Preventing and Combating Violence Against Women and Domestic Violence, the Istanbul Convention, entered into force, recognizing the existence of gender stereotypes and prejudices that contribute to social legitimacy, violence against women, girls, and girls again. The National Strategy for Equality and Non-Discrimination, Portugal Mais Igual, the main public policy instrument in the area of gender equality, includes an action plan to prevent and combat violence against women and domestic violence. Portugal has been implementing national public policies to promote equality, citizenship, and prevent and combat domestic and gender-based violence, including, like I said before, human trafficking since late 90s. This Portugal More Equal strategy marks a new programmatic cycle that started in 2018. In line with European and international guidelines, this strategy consolidates the vision of Portugal in the framework of the promotion of public policies for equality and non-discrimination as a condition of progress and sustainable development. The construction of the strategy was based on broad consultation with government departments, municipalities, experts, the private sector, and organized civil society. So we have 3 action plans: action plan for equality between women and men, action plan to prevent and combat violence against women and domestic violence, and the action plan for combating protection against discrimination on grounds of sexual orientation, gender identity, and sex characteristics. Anna?
Yeah. So hello everybody, my name is Ana. Susana comes from Portugal, from Porto. I come from Lisbon. We are the same commission, but we are in different places. But this strategy is for all Portugal, so that's why we came along. And I'm going to speak to you about the main strategic areas our intervention in domestic violence in Portugal. That is the plan that combats violence against women and gender-based violence. So this strategic has the prevention, the support and protect, intervene against aggressors. So, and the qualify professionals and to investigate, monitor, and evaluate public policies and prevent and combat harmful practices of mutual genital mutilation. So this is important because all of the plans have this kind of strategy to prevent, to be there and support the institutions, to investigate, and also to be close to the problems. So we have a national network of domestic violence services in Portugal. This national network of domestic violence centers, we have them from 2005, and they provide and integrate the response to case of domestic violence, and we try to enhance existing resources. The national coverage has achieved in January 2009 18 districts of Portugal, and they are currently right now 200 support centers, including specialized support centers for LGBT victims, sexual violence victims, and migrant victims. We have 37 shelters, 36 for women, 1 for men, and 1 for women with mental illnesses. We have 17 emergency shelters, including 1 for LGBT victims. And right now, we have also 32 actually, this is because another one over responses from psychological support to children and young victims of domestic violence. Right now, the crime of domestic violence in Portugal, children, when they assist the domestic violence, they are also victims of domestic violence. So right now we have this response that it's only for children, and it's a very dear project for me and Susanna, because we are in the beginning of that project, and we support this 32 response structures. And the psychologists that they are there, they are also technical specialized in domestic violence. They are psychologists and specialized in domestic violences. So together, these 54 shelters can accommodate that I spoke 852 people. And this national network is coordinated by us. We support the institutions. We give them sometimes psychological support because it's really hard to work in this area. So this is how they are distributed in Portugal, more or less, so that you can see. Sorry. Here. So to aim this to the thing that bring us here, the cyber violence, we brought you this recent study. It was published in December. We just brought it because it's really recent, and it is a study. It's not ours. It's a study made by the Youth Network for Equality, a Portuguese NGO, and it's called Faz Delete. And it conducted a quality study on image-based sexual violence in Portugal. The study was based on online questionnaire addressed to young people between 18 and 25 years old. and they have 519 answers. And we brought this to you because of the numbers. 67% of the women survived revealed having suffered for one or more forms of violence, and 83 had suffered from cyberflashing, 6% has threatened to share, 5% has shared image nudes or sexual images, and 4% capturing of images. In most cases, the aggressor was unknown, an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, 15%, someone known, 12%, sporadic partners, 12%, friends, 9%, and boyfriends, girlfriends, or partners, 9%, or family members also. So 95% of the women victims felt some form of impact on their lives, such as depression, hypersexualization, blame, isolation, and self-mutilation. So I think this is the beginning of the project, and we brought you the numbers in Portugal. In terms of public policies, we should tell you that cyber violence appears to be a new phenomenon, but on this digital age, but it's not. In fact, it's only the continuation of the structural inequality between women and men. So we believe that through the articulation between Portuguese state, organizations of the civil society, and the private sector, it is possible to prevent and combat the forms of violence, including this cyber violence. So Portugal, through the strategy that Susanna spoke, and that integrates public policy, which is reflected in the national plans of prevention of violence against women and domestic violence, aims to implement public policies, measures that we intend. And this is in our plan right now, the new plan. The last one ended last year, and we are implementing a new plan right now. Actually, it's being the discussion ended, but I think it's going to be implemented. And so we integrate cyber violence in the referential of indication of health and citizenship. We aim to have awareness campaigns, promotion and support of national studies of cyber violence, new studies, and the qualification of professionals from various strategic areas about to form online violence, namely sexual violence based on image against women and girls, and hate speech online also. So thank you very much. This is our emails. We are open for discussion and anything that you need. Thank you.
Thank you, Ana and Susana. That was very interesting. Our next speaker is also from Portugal, but from another institution. On behalf of Portuguese Platform for Women's Rights, Ms. Alexandra Silva, please.
So thank you. Let me just begin with. Oh. So thank you and good morning. Thank you for inviting us to be part of the conference, but also to be part of the project. We think it's very important. It is our pleasure to be in Zagreb with you all. So I'm Alexandra Silva, and I'm coming from the Portuguese Platform for Women's Rights. So who are we, the Portuguese Platform for? Oh, sorry. So who are we? So the Portuguese Platform is an umbrella organization that aims to contribute to the promotion of equality between women and men and to the defense of women's rights, including the elimination of all forms of discrimination and of violence against women and girls, in particular in the context of the objectives, legislation, recommendations and guidelines which are relevant at the national, international, and of course, European Union level. The platform brings together 29 member organizations that in their diversity work for the constructions of synergies that allow us to deepen reflection, debate, action, and civic and social intervention, and create concrete conditions for the effective and sustainable participation in the political decision-making process for defining public policies. Many of our organizations have support centers and run shelters in Portugal, several of them. So they also have this specific program for children at place. We are also, just to give you an idea who we are also the national coordination of the European Women's Lobby. And we particularly work in these different structures. Myself, I'm working on the Observatory on Violence Against Women and Girls. We are also the national coordination of the Association of Women from the Meridional Europe, AFEM, and a member of the Mediterranean Women's Foundation and of the EU Civil Society Platform Against Trafficking in Human Beings. This is at the European level. At the international level, we have special consultative status by the Economic and Social Council of the UN, and this allows us to participate in several working sessions, such as the Commission on the Status of Women, which is happening now, but also on the CEDAW sessions, on the Universal Periodic Revision of Human Rights, and on children's rights, to state those that in which we were more involved, or we are more involved than. We are recently, very recently, the national branch of the International Council of Women, which is the historical Women's Rights Association at international level. So these are some of our examples of the resources we've been developing recently regarding violence against women and girls. We based our work on the international, regional, and national instruments ratified by Portugal, having all of them relevance on the prevention and combat cyber violence against women and girls, such as the CEDAW, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, and within the CEDAW, particularly the General Recommendations 12, 19, and 35, specifically on violence against women, but also the numbers, the General Recommendations 14, 30, 31, 38, and very specifically the 33, which is the access of women to justice, and this is very important. These are some of the phrases taken from the number 35, which is the specific one, which really focus on the violence against women, and also on the online violence that women are affected by. But also we've focused on the convention, the Istanbul Convention, the Convention of the Council of Europe on preventing and combating violence against women and domestic violence. Although this convention does not have included online violence, we know that we can include that regarding this Article 3 definition, namely the line A. But also, and for us, it's very important to connect all these instruments, but also the recommendation from the Council of Europe, this very recently one on preventing and combating sexism, because this recommendation is paramount as it contains the first international agreed definition of sexism in 2019. Can you believe this is very, very very, very recent, and includes online and via new technologies, and reaffirms the existence of a continuum of violence affecting women and girls. And cyber violence against women and girls is one of the priorities of the Council of Europe. There is this webpage on the Council of Europe that really reveals the political importance of this issue at these 47 countries, which Portugal is a member of. The Council of Europe affirms the digital dimension of violence against women is a continuum of offline experiences. So at the European level, of course, we have to focus on the strategy, a Union of Equality, a gender equality strategy until 2025. And really, this strategy states that online violence targeting women has become pervasive with specific vicious consequences. This is unacceptable. This is what is written there. So it's important to have this in mind. It's a barrier to women's participation in public life. Bullying, harassment, abuse on social media have far-reaching effects on women and girls' daily lives. But also it is important to focus on the Digital Services Act. And the Digital Service Act includes violence against women and girls. For example, it states providers of very large online platforms, in particular those primarily used for dissemination to the public of pornographic content, should diligently met their obligations under these regulations in respect with legal content constituting cyber violence, including illegal pornographic content, especially with regard to ensuring that victims can effectively exercise their rights in relation to content representing non-consensual sharing of intimate or manipulated material through the rapid processing of notice and removal of such contents without undue delay. This is very important to have this in mind in the context of our project. And last but not least, of course, the proposal of directive on combating violence against women and domestic violence, putting really a focus on cyber violence. And this is very clear on the Article 3, the definitions. It has two sublines on violence, on cyber violence and violence through communications and information technology, but also on specific articles such as number 7, non-consensual sharing of intimate or manipulated material, because it's very common to manipulate material, you know, to have our faces posted on a body, on a video, that it is not ours, but it is sent as ours. But also Article 8, cyber stalking, Article 9, cyber harassment, 10, cyber incitement to violence or hatred, 25, measures to remove certain online materials. This is a proposal which we are very keen to be adopted by the European Commission, and then the member states also. Just to give you an idea, in 2017, the European Women's Lobby promoted a project called Her Net, Her Rights. The project started with applied research and advocacy regarding online violence against women and girls and technology-related violence in Europe, having focused on the understanding of the current state at that time, the current state of violence against women and girls in digital spaces in Europe, identifying good practices on protection and prevention, mapping legislation at the EU level and national level, and accessing burning issues, challenges, and policy gaps. We invite you to read the research paper and the toolkit, which are linked in here. So the campaign also brought several posters focusing on different types of violence, online violence against women and girls. These are some of the examples, but there were more. Finally, as I said, it's happening now. The 67th session of the convention of the Commission on the Status of Women, and the priority theme this year is also related to our project. So we are looking forward for the political declaration and how to also engage in our project would be very perfect. For us, the Portuguese Platform for Women's Rights, it is very clear. Online spaces provide new venues for violence against women and girls, and in fact, they are offering perpetrators increased anonymity and impunity. Nevertheless, although we all know the levels of prevalence and gravity, there is no universally accepted definition of technology facilitate gender-based violence. Cyber violence against women and girls takes place in the virtual sphere, but it results in tangible harm, either physical, sexual, psychological, social, political, or economic, as our colleagues were presenting. And this kind of violence does not end when women log off. There's a continuum between the real world and online violence, with technology helping to perpetuate surveillance, and this is very important when we look at violence against women, trafficking, and other forms of abuse and sexual exploitation. It is deeply rooted in the sexist societies we still live in. It is part of the continuum of sexism and violence perpetrated often by men against women and girls. Beyond the lack of a formal definition, international, European, and then national, coherent global norms and standards on online gender-based violence do not exist. As tech generates new forms of violence, such as non-consensual deepfakes, existing legal frameworks cease to apply. And online violence, as all forms of gender-based violence, is seriously unreported. Data from the United Nations stated that only 1 in 4 women reporting violent acts to the platform where they took place, let's say Facebook, let's say Instagram, only 1 in 4 reported to that platform. Fewer, 14%, reporting to protective agencies. And this must worry us. For us, it is very clear. We must act now. And this project is one of the moments we have to do that. In our view, within a political frame that most probably is on our side, namely, if the proposal of directive is adopted. We know that legal frameworks must be developed in coordination with women's organizations and centered around human rights and survivor-informed approaches. And this is for sure one of the goals of the project. Now let's work and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Silva. Now we are leaving Portugal and are going not so far away to Spain. It is my pleasure to call the representative of the Organization for the Protection of Women's Rights from Spain, Ms. Teresa Nevado Bueno.
Thank you. Good morning. They are person, they are colleagues, they are attendant in this morning. I thank you in the name of Spain, España, to participate in this project. And I think it is a good situation for a best collaboration and probably to know better this country, Croatia. My name is Teresa Nevado. LEN España is one organization similar that the Portuguese platform. Has around 20 women association, only women association in Spain, in a wide range, since rural women to business women and women working a lot of in violence. We belong to the European Women Lobby too. It's similar, the platform, the Portuguese platform. When I tried to prepare this intervention, I thought that maybe it's interesting to follow a little the same process, but with Spanish information, the same process that the project. I thought this. And so in this project, there are a first step, very, very important, is to analyze the real situation of cyber violence. We analyzed in Spain a big survey in 2014. Now we have a big survey from, I don't remember, 2018 or 20, but we are not working at this moment. But 2014 is older, but the numbers are very, very dangerous and very, very impressive. For example, the 44.5% of boys and 37.1% of girls have had accepted a stranger as friend on the internet 2 or more times. In 2014, that now sure is the number is increase and increase. The 60% of young women say in this survey that they have been victims of gender-based violence through new technologies, even through insulting messages. 37% have received a particular message that has made them feel fear. 36, and in something it's worse. 14.7% of young women has received a message that to pressure to participate in some form of sexual activity. Is several years ago. Now sure is more dangerous the situation. So we need to know, it's the first step of the project. We need to know better at this moment what is the situation in order to can has a measure to solve or to try to solve or to try to modify the situation. The second question, important question, is what is doing the public administration? Is the second important question. In Spain, after we signed, of course, the Istanbul Convention, after that, you know, of course, Spain is one of the most famous countries in violence, working in violence. I would like to tell you what is the reason. The main reason is valid for the Croatia, for any other country. The main reason for the success is, of course, the good measure is clear, but doesn't change never. The government changed the one political color to other political color. You have in the national in Spain. Spain is a big country, 47 million of persons. You have a government at national. You have government at regional level, etc. Not always the same political color, conservative, the left, etc. But always the same political was doing. This is the very, very, very important. Maintain the political all time in a permanent way, and to change something that you can see this is wrong, but not change depending the political color, because this is a disaster. This is my opinion about what is the success in the political situation in Spanish in violence. Well, after the Istanbul Convention that Spain signed in 2015, introduced new crimes that was not in the penal code in Spain, the crime of harassment and stalking, the crime of the cyberbullying or sexting, and the crime of manipulation of the normal function of technical device in 2015. But all was solved? No. Pending is pending, there are pending a lot of problems not introduced in the criminal law, in the penal law in Spain. For example, to distribute in internet compromising image and information with sexual contents. It's confused. No, it's a crime, it's not a crime, it's confused. To expose the victims on a website where a person can be subject to stigmatization are ridiculous, to create a false profile under the name of the victim in order to, for example, make sexual demands on offers, to assume the identity of the victims in order to, for example, make offensive comments to the other part. There are, I have no time, but there are a lot of problems that not clear or confused or something like that, not introduced at this moment in the criminal law in Spain, and I suppose in the rest of the country. This is the second part, important part. I hope in the project we are able to prepare and we are able to have the influence to the public administration in order to go more that it was included in the criminal law, for including more questions in the criminal law was a crime. And finally, yeah, not the less important, the majority of adolescents and young people don't think that this is a problem. The majority think it's not important, this question. They belong to the social network. Has comfort in the situation. It's not a problem. So it's very, very important to a pedagogical question with these people, the young people, in order to think that really is a big problem, this situation. And we are speaking about violence, but we can introduce other kind of problems, more news now. For example, I don't like to introduce this discussion in my intervention, but now with the increase the queer theory, there are a lot of adolescents that think that they are other different, but in this age that all is very, very, very complicated. Very complicated. We need to sorry, we need to think to this. This is the third part is in relation, of course, with the project, and we think to this. And finally, only finally, really, finally, now we have the discussion about the proposal of directive for the European Union. What is of course, is more minimum, always is in the same way. But what is the main effect? It will be mandatory. the Istanbul Convention is not mandatory because depends if the country sign or not sign. I don't know what was the situation in Croatia, but directive will be mandatory. And directive introduce three or four articles about the cyber. In fact, Article 7, non-consensual sharing of intimated or manipulated material. The Article 8, cyber stalking. Article 9, cyber harassment. And Article 10, cyber incitement to violence or hate. Introduced that I know for. And this will be mandatory. And the directive could be approved finally during this project, because the discussion in the Parliament, I think, finished more or less on June or something like that for this. And the discussion in the government, between government, is don't need majority for a strong majority, but not unanimity. It could be 1-2 years during this project. And we need to have this idea, because probably it's minimum, it's less than the we obtain in the project, but it will be mandatory, and it will be mandatory, not with the rest. I think, and I finish, this project will be interesting. All the information that we have in Spain, not only in good practice, on the important survey we can give you in order to the party regarding with this, you can analyze and have more ideas. And thank you, and I hope this is the as in Casablanca, the beginning with a good friends. Thank you.
Thank you. We hope that too. I would like to thank to all our speakers at the first panel. It was very interesting and important to hear all of you. We expect that our next panel is going to maintain your attention, but before that, we will have a short break for a coffee. So a short coffee break, and then we will continue. Thank you all for now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's nice to see you all again. It is now time for our second panel, and now we are going to hear some more experiences from our country, from Croatia. Experiences of partner organization from Croatia on gender-based cyber violence. That's the name of our panel. First, I invite representative of the Institute for Social Research in Zagreb, Ms. Mirjana Adamović, to address us, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. So, violence against women in digital spaces has its forms and scales and harmful consequences on women's lives. Now we are aware that all forms of violence against women should be understood within the framework of gender-based discrimination. Why is that? The basic idea of gender-based discrimination is that women and girls are stereotypically inferior with respect to men and boys. The digital dimension of violence against women implies gender-based violence against women that is committed, assisted, and aggravated by the use of information and communication technologies, mobile phones, smartphones, the internet, social media platforms or email, geolocation tracking devices, drones, non-internet connected recording devices, or artificial intelligence. Platform of independent expert mechanisms on discrimination and violence against women distinguishes four main types of online and technology facilitated violence. First, forms of harassment, violence, or abuse that are facilitated by specific technologies. For example, if intimate partner, we heard, violence is carried out via the use of technologies, including by tracking devices. Second, abuse that takes place and is amplified online. For example, non-consensual sharing of intimate images. Third, when technology has generated a new form of abuse, such as fake pornography and abuse of our digital selves. Fourth, when online environment is used to enable violence. For example, use of social media for sexual violence. So you can see that online and technology-facilitated violence include a various range of behaviors. Media reports and public debates concerning the dark side of the web focus on various forms of online abuse. I would like to mention some terms such as trolling, doxing, hate crime and hate speech, cyberbullying, e-bile, revenge porn, stalking, sexting, etc. The police reports difficulties in keeping up with the rise in the number of reports of online crime and abuse. So all that forms could be considered as digital dimensions of violence against women that are only part of gender-based violence against women. So we can say that many of these forms are a form of gender abuse and some symbolic violence as it is performed in relation to women. For example, gender trolling is distinct from forms of trolling which more generally attempt to disrupt or hijack online interactions. Gender trolling is exponentially more vicious, aggressive, and threatening, and is devoted to targeting the designated person. Cyberbullying creates mental, emotional, social scars that have a prolonged impact on victims, but the bullies as well. Cyberbullying perpetration is often retaliation for traditional bullying victimization or previous involvement with cyberbullying as either victims or perpetrators. Some authors found that the most common motive for cyberbullying was anger. Social, emotional outcomes related to cyber victimization are comparable to those relating to traditional bullying, with negative impacts on physical, social, cognitive functioning, development, and well-being, ranging from psychological, academic, and emotional problems, such as depression, school problems, and deviant behaviors. Cyber violence perpetrators often perceive themselves as anonymous, which has adverse effect compared to traditional bullying. Research on de-individualization has shown that things said and done anonymously would not occur in face-to-face interactions when the impact of a certain behavior on the victim is visible. For some perpetrators, recognizing they have hurt their victim discourages them from further bullying behavior. It is very important to say that the digital dimension of violence against women is not a new phenomenon, but is deeply rooted in cultural norms and structural violence over women and girls. At the same time, it is a dynamic phenomenon which is constantly developing and taking on new forms. It can also be argued that these forms of violence is deep violation of human rights of women and girls. Research conducted on the digital dimension of violence against women have very similar results. This is confirmed by the United Nations data of 2015. For example, 3/4 of women experienced some form of gender-based violence online, and 2/3 of perpetrators were men. A study by Economist Intelligence Unit conducted 2020 revealed that 74% of women in Europe had experienced with or witnessed online and technology-facilitated violence. According to a report published by Women's Aid, 45% of victims of domestic violence have experienced some form of abuse online during their relationship, while 48% reported having been subject to harassment or abuse online after ending the relationship. The first Croatian survey, EU Kids Online, on children's digital habits and children's safety on the internet was conducted 2017 and on a nationally representative sample of children. The key results showed that 7% of children between the ages 9 and 17 had the experience of being mistreated by someone, while 4.5% of children admitted violent behavior toward others. Almost half of the children never or almost never asked for support and help from their parents in situations and problems that upset them while they were on the internet. In the year before the survey, 72% of boys and 90% of girls had several disturbing experiences on the internet. Some results from recent research also conducted in Croatia indicated that girls are more often cyberbullying victims. They talk to others and they report cyberbullying more often, while boys and younger participants are more often cyberbullying perpetrators. Age and school success predict cyberbullying perpetration for younger and academically less efficient participants. Cyberbullying correlates negatively with the quality of traditional protective factors in risk behavior etiology, like family, school, and peer relations. Results show that younger male participants come from less educated mothers who have lower academic achievement and lower satisfaction with family life. Peer relations and school attainment represent an average cyberbully profile. Also, they show that children who commit and or experience cyberbullying achieve higher results on the scale of internet addiction than children who do not participate in cyberbullying. Our research on gender-based cyber violence among children and youth will be implemented under the work package 2 of this project. The research objectives are to gain insight into attitudes, experiences, and habits of children and young people in the use of digital communication resources, and to exposure of children and young people to gender-based violence in the digital context. And the second objective is to explore the knowledge, experience, protocols, and recommendations of experts working with young people and dealing with the situation. Within the stated research objectives, the more specific research problems are getting a better understanding of gender-based cyber violence in terms of its prevalence and gender differences, demographic characteristics, manifestations, channels, frequency and duration, effects, and other circumstances. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. We are looking forward for results of your research. Our next speaker who is going to share with us their experiences in this field is from the Center for Education, Counseling and Research, Ms. Tanja Cesar. Please take the floor.
Thank you. And I'm very pleased to be here today and have a chance to talk a little bit more about one part of our work, which is prevention work with young people, with schools and with teachers on prevention of cyber gender-based violence. CES is a feminist organization that advocates for advancement of women and achievement of gender equality in our society. And last year we marked 25 years of CESI and 10 years of our helpline and counseling center for women victims of violence in Krapinsko-Zagorska County. So a long time ago, we were the first association in Croatia and maybe in region which systematically dealt with the rising awareness on gender equality, on prevention of teen dating violence and gender-based violence. Right now, our educational and prevention programs are recognized also by the EU and different international bodies as examples of good practices in the field of GBV prevention. And our teaching and multimedia materials are widely used in Croatia, in schools, but also in the region. Violence against women in online environment has become our priority during COVID pandemic. Then we developed different educational programs, materials, websites. We conducted the social media campaign, but we also work a lot with the teachers. So we educated around 300 teachers, and we are continuously work with peer educators and train peer educators in the schools. Cyberspace has many characteristics that can enhance, perpetuate, and diversify violent acts against women and girls. Nature and causes of violence are not different from offline violence, but tools can be different, the visibility of violence can be different, but also laws and regulations in online spaces. Anonymity, already it was mentioned, can amplify violence. Lack of means of identification can encourage perpetrator with the perception that they are not accountable and they don't have to follow the rules. Widespread use of internet and social media makes information sharing go faster, go broader. So offensive and violent pictures, data, comments posted online can be spread untraceably, very fast and very far, leaving the victim vulnerable and with no control over their privacy and no safety, even if their own homes. Many online technology features can be used in abusive relationships. We witness that a lot with our work with young people, but also with adults, and exert further control over the partner, like tracking, hacking softwares, different online platforms, saved login information. The consequences of being victim to cyber violence is severe as offline violence. And cyber violence have potential to have major consequences of social and professional life of victims. Victim can withdraw from online spaces or even change their careers or their public posts. Yeah, because we all know that politicians and women in public spaces are very often victims of sexual online violence. Prevention must be basic task of our societies and of our educational system. And it's also formal and legal obligation of teachers and school staff. This implies informing also and teaching children about different topics related to gender equality, safety, and gender-based violence within educational system on all levels. Different studies have shown that women and girls are more likely to be victims of different types of cyber violence. I will quote one research which was conducted by a Safer Internet Center last year and included high school students. And it was shown that 41% of young people were sexually harassed at least once. Of course, more often girls than boys. Almost half of high school students state that they have witnessed their peers share sexual content on group chat, profile, or forum. More than 30% stated that their peers secretly take photos of naked people or inappropriately dressed people or people during sexual acts and share it on internet. And what is very worrying for me as an adult, the big number of young people, of students, would not report this to adults and would not report this to teachers and to schools for different reasons. CESI also conducted a survey to collect data on awareness of teachers and secondary school students on their attitudes and strategies to address cyber GBV. The research showed a clear difference between forms of violence that girls and boys experience. So there is a much higher number of girls receiving sexual comments online. It was more than 70%. More of them experience extortion and non-sexual publishing of their photos or videos they send privately to someone. When it comes to boys, they seem to be at higher risk of being threatened by physical violence or pressured to watch porn. Most of teachers, which were part of our research, think that the GBV is not a serious problem among students, or they're not sure is it a problem. And we know that teachers are crucial for implementation of violence prevention programs. Well-trained, supported, and motivated teachers are key in delivering high-quality prevention programs. Our data show that majority of teachers believe that their role should include also addressing problems of cyber violence. To implement curriculum effectively, but teachers also need to be confident, need to be committed, have enough education and resources. They have to feel supported by school management, by legal framework, and of course by relevant institutions and authorities. Working directly with young people in a form of curricular or extracurricular activities using education, interactive techniques, creative methodologies is a very helpful tool in changing their attitudes, behaviors, helping them learn about healthier ways to relate to another, and encouraging them to speak against violence and provide support to their friends who are victims of violence. The research clearly indicates that youth very rarely turn to adults and to the teachers when they're exposed to violence. Most likely they will talk to their peers, if they will talk at all. Peer education approach is that it's very important also because it's very effective because peer influence peers in a very positive way. And also collaborations and teachers and students combined with good methodology can improve student and teacher relationship. That's also was proved in many our projects, and that is what is very important for reporting violence. And this leads to better understanding and leads to high level of satisfaction with our programs. And young people are eager to participate and also to deal with the prevention of violence, but also some of them express a very high level of empathy, and they're eager to volunteer in some organizations dealing with violence. And of course, besides educational prevention work, it is necessary to provide gender and age-appropriate sensitive mechanism of intervention, of protection and support to youth who have experienced any form of violence in school, including cyber violence. And we all know that adequate legal sanctions for perpetrators are also necessary, both from the perspective of victim, but also from the perspective of whole society and preventing future crimes. So thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward to our collaboration.
Thank you, Ms. Cesar. It was interesting as always. And finally, from Domine, Organization for the Promotion of Women's Rights, Ms. Mirjana Kučer is now going to take. Mirjana, okay, sorry. Sorry, my mistake, please.
Hi. Good afternoon. I'm Katarina Križan from Organization Domine. It's an organization for promotion of women's rights. We are based in Split in Croatia. So let me just say that we are very glad to be a part of this project and we are very glad that these problems are discussed and explored and analyzed. But I'm going to start with saying that we come from the position of organization who has a counseling center for women victims of domestic and sexual violence. So cases of digital violence that we have encountered are related to violence against women in intimate partner relationship. Therefore, digital violence for us is a direct consequence and continuation of such violence. So we're going to analyze it through that kind of lens. But the reason for this analysis and why it seems so complex for us was our personal impression of such cases as particularly brutal and complex. So also, I have to emphasize that we statistically deal with a small number of digital violence cases, which I guess it's a case in itself, because it can indicate a problem of lack of awareness that manifests itself in not reporting or not recognizing digital violence as such. So through this panel, we will represent an analysis of one specific case that we have encountered in our organization and, of course, our main conclusions. So our analysis is characterized by the realization that digital violence is not only an extension of violence that comes from offline world, but its repetition and, most importantly, an upgrade. And we call it an upgrade with key concepts of permanence, timelessness, placelessness, accessibility, and immediacy. So through those concepts, we will analyze this particular case. But I'm not going to get into too many details about what this case is, because we, of course, respect the privacy of a woman victim of violence. But I will say it was a case of threatening to publish intimate sexually explicit content online made by an ex-partner, of course, without permission. And what we are talking about here are several layers of violence that woman experienced. So the first one is a violence that occurs during the intimate partner relationship. So it's a physical or psychological or economical or sexual violence. It's using methods like stalking or control. The second layer of violence is violence that occurs on an online sphere. So it's a digital kind of violence or cyberbullying. With threats to publish sexually explicit content. The third layer is the feeling of fear and shame that women experienced from the fear that intimate content will be published eventually. And the fourth layer is what we consider most important one, which is the permanence of the content. So you have explicit videos, which in this case is used as an act of revenge for ending an intimate relationship. And it reaches the online space in just a few clicks. So there's an easiness and there's simplicity and accessibility of that kind of methods. But it remains there for a very long time, permanently, which can, of course, further cause the fifth layer, which is trauma and cyber harassment, not only from an ex-partner, but also from other men and women offline and online. But the problem with the fifth layer is the problem with reactions from the society. So this act of publishing intimate video or sexually explicit videos is not seen as morally corrupt. It is seen as entertainment. So that's exactly what is the problem here. And that's why we cannot talk about digital violence only as digital violence. We can talk about violence against women in general. So another concept that we point out here is timelessness. So timelessness signifies that such content remains visible and it's kind of written into the history and identity of a woman. So the video allows, I guess, event to continue to happen. So because of that video is online and it's published, the event has not stopped happening. So the violence enters that kind of continuum of violence, and it's deeply damaging to a woman experiencing it. Also, it blurs the lines between public and private. And as you all know, social media have become kind of like an omnipresent in everyday life. It's embedded into our mobile phones, apps. It became a basic part of communication in our society. And that kind of digital communication can in a sense, enhance a sense of placelessness that makes people feel like they are more together when they are apart. It makes feel messaging more immediate, more personal, more accessible. So in the context of abusive relationship, these characteristics can amplify the harms of abuse. So as we all know, as feminist organizations that deal with domestic violence abusers use those kind of tactics. They use physical and sexual violence to control their partners and ultimately limit their freedom. So digital media offers those abusers kind of an everyday options of effectively control their partners. So some of those are, let's call it traditional forms of abuse like stalking or verbal abuse. But the accessibility and immediacy of digital violence or mobile or social media can result in using that abuse with greater ease and using that abuse with using new methods and new channels. So consequently, because of all those characteristics of digital violence, victims have reported feeling constantly unsafe because they are unable to truly escape their abusers, regardless of their physical location. So the victim is not only able to escape the violence by the abuser spatially, but also temporarily. They're also unable to escape the violence in itself, not just the abuser, because the violence, the act of violence in that kind of video, that kind of content is permanently out there online for everybody to see. So we carried out this kind of, or singled out this kind of concept that characterize digital violence. And I'm going to end this here. We think that because of those concepts, because of those characteristics, digital violence is a complex and dangerous form and a new form of violence against women and girls, and allows the creation of new modus of violence. Of course, we remain hopeful that this and the following similar projects will help solve the problem of digital violence through its prevention and recognition and sanctioning. And I hope that this and all other analysis that were carried out here can give you more knowledge and more data on how to end violence against women and against girls. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Križan. And thanks to all our speakers. It was very important and very interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all on behalf of the Ombudsperson for Gender Equality of the Republic of Croatia, Ms. Višnja Ljubičić. I would like to thank you for your attention, for your support, for the recognition of the importance of this project. We are really looking forward to see the results of this project in Croatia, in Portugal, as well as in Spain. And we all also hope to see you soon again. For now, thank you all. I wish you all the best. Goodbye.